Folks, welcome to the No Ceilings NBA podcast feed. I am Maxwell Baumbach, and I've got another prospect interview for you here today. As we are gearing up for the Portsmouth Invitational, we've got a preview coming out this week, and we'll also have a recap the week after. I've got the chance to sit down and talk with another player who's going to be participating in the Portsmouth Invitational. I'm very excited to be joined by him. He just finished up a great season at Toledo. He's one of the most efficient scorers in college basketball. He is JT Shumate. JT, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I just got back from the pool, so I'm feeling really good.
Nice. That's great. That's great. So we're gonna kind of get into the nitty gritty of your game for people who might not be familiar with it, and kind of let them know what to look out for. But I always just like to start at the very, very beginning. How did you get into the game of basketball growing up?
My dad was a big part of it. He was a coach growing up. He coached me a lot growing up. He coached my sisters in high school. Both my sisters are Division I basketball players, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that I think one of them was at Ohio State and one of them also played in the MAC too, right?
Yeah, one at Kent State.
Okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a really big thing. I just kind of fell in love with it from the time I was probably like 8, really early. And, yeah, just been playing ever since. It's great.
Did you have any like players or teams that like really kind of got you even more into it, where it's like, hey, that's my guy, like that's my favorite player, that's my favorite team, anything like that early on?
I really liked watching Kyrie growing up and KD. Both those guys, just like their ability to put the ball in the basket is just insane. And then like a guy like Gordon Hayward is more like someone that I see myself like, where I'm just like, man, that's really impressive what he's been able to do.
Yeah. And so your story is a lot different than a lot of guys that, we're going to be talking to throughout this process. So you actually started at Walsh, which is a Division II. What was your recruitment like in high school? And like, how did somebody who's now playing at Portsmouth start out at a Division II? Were you a late bloomer? Was it like a growth spurt thing? Like how did you start out at Walsh? What led to that?
I was 100% a late bloomer in high school, but I think just my like lack of quickness, lack of strength coming out of high school was a big part of me only being recruited by Division II schools. I never lacked skill. That wasn't really what they were talking about. It was just like I was like a $180 coming out of high school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I had to put on weight, and I had to keep working on my game and trying to get quicker.
And were you still like 6'7" during that time, or did you grow late as well? Okay.
I was my junior year of high school. I was 6'7".
Okay. But, so it was just the frame and everything like that coming together.
Right. Yeah. Just filling out more.
So then you play a couple seasons there. You do really well. You end up transferring up to Toledo. When you had that opportunity and you were looking at different schools, what led you to Toledo?
Honestly, it was the best offer that I had come out of Walsh. I felt like as far as Division I schools went, they had the most winning culture, and it just seemed like it was going to be a really good place for me. The coaching staff was really cool. Felt like a family environment that people worked hard in. I wanted to go somewhere that like basketball was a priority, and it felt like that was the case at Toledo, and it definitely was.
Well, and it's interesting you mention that, because it just seems like there's really started to be a just strong winning culture there, and guys get better there is the other thing, where it's like you look at a guy like Ray J. Dennis, or you look at Cedric Milner, or Ryan Rollins from year 1 to year 2. Like it just seems like it's a great developmental program. Why do you think it is that they've kind of had success where it's just like, because you see guys like all the time, and like I run into this as an evaluator, where I'll see a guy, they'll have promise, and you'll get excited to see him the next year, and then they just don't get any better. Where it seems like Toledo guys are consistently getting better year over year. What do you think they do differently that's kind of led to that?
Well, I think it's the workouts. I mean, every day before we had practice, we would have 30, 45-minute shooting times. So we were always in the gym before practice started. And it wasn't like a thing where they're like, yeah, you have to come shoot at this time. It's just like, it was kind of known, like Marion Jackson and Spencer Littleson were the upperclassmen when I first got there. Really good basketball players, both really skilled guys, could shoot the crap out of the ball. I mean, good basketball players, but they really set the culture. It felt like there. to where like it was expected. Like guys are gonna be in the gym before practice starts, and that was, I mean, that's what gets you better, being in the gym. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and I mean those guys are super talented players. Like Littleton's the guy who played summer league, and Marion Jackson went on to play at Arizona State. Like there's been a lot of talent that goes through those doors at Toledo.
Right.
When you moved up to the Division I level, what was the biggest adjustment for you? Like what was the biggest thing where it's like, this is a little different, I'm gonna have to get used to this versus playing it at the Division II level?
I'd have to say the speed of the game, the length and athleticism of the players, because again, like the skill was not different. Like Division II skill, like
We're
the
good.
guys are skilled. Guys are skilled, but it's the length, the athleticism. I remember one time we were playing at Akron, and I'm just like, the game is just passing me by. I played like 30 minutes, but it felt like I was barely out there. Like I'm watching the game from inside the game. And that was a big wake up call for me. I was like, man, I gotta get hip to this really quick.
And what do you think did it? Do you think it was just the reps and just kind of being thrown into the fire and figuring it out? Or was there anything where it was like, man, once I figured out this, it really clicked?
I think just being thrown into it. I mean, you got to do something before you can really know how to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think I just needed to be put in that situation and put into it enough times.
So let's get into your game a little bit. Because you're a really talented player. You were one of my favorite guys to watch this year. And then Mac, just like the last couple of years in general, there's been a lot of talent coming through that league. How would you describe yourself as a player for someone who's never seen you before?
I'd say I'm a guy who can stretch the floor with my ability to shoot. I'm a guy that can pass, dribble, and shoot. I'm a skilled player that is never not going to play hard. You know what you're getting with me, and I'm not going to take bad shots. That's the other thing.
Yeah. The not taking bad shots thing is actually a great place to start, as is your ability to stretch the floor. So over each of the last 2 seasons, you shot over 60% on twos and over 40% from three. And generally when you see that kind of efficiency, the 3-point volume is kind of low, but you took over 7 threes for 100 possessions in both of those 2 seasons. Your touch is stellar, and you're a great free throw shooter as well. 84% during your Division I seasons. Is your touch and your shooting, is that an element of the game that's come naturally to you, or is that something that you've had to develop? And if so, how has that sort of come along?
I think that just like from the first time I picked up a basketball, it was very apparent to me that like I was not going to be the quickest person. So I knew that I would have to be a really good shooter. Like there's no way I wasn't going to be. So I made it a priority, and you know, like I said, like my dad helped me a lot with that. You know, I probably changed my shot. I mean, I don't know. I probably changed it 20 times over the course.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but just figuring out what works, and you know, repping it enough times so you know it's going to work.
So that actually leads into the next thing I wanted to ask you, which is one thing I think that, I mean, obviously outside the fact that like the ball goes in the basket, that is very projectable about your shot, and something that I think makes you more intriguing at the next level than a lot of other guys that hit a high percentage from three, is the speed of your release. Like you catch the ball, there's not a dip on it, and it goes up quick. From the time that you catch the ball, the time it goes up is very fast. Did you just settle upon that release naturally, or was that something where you had your shooting motion and you made a cognizant decision to speed it up?
I think there was a time when like I really made a conscious effort to speed it up, just knowing that maybe when I actually came to Toledo, just knowing that I needed to get it off quicker because, you know, the guys were going to be quicker. So I think I made a pretty conscious effort at that point to speed it up.
Awesome. Well, it looks good. It went in. So the next thing I wanted to ask you about is sort of your versatility on the defensive end of the floor. You did mention, you know, speed, not necessarily for your forte, but it's obvious that watching the games, you're communicating a lot on that end of the floor. And because you filled out your body, you are really strong. So you've got some strength, you've got length, and it kind of enables you to guard multiple positions, guard up and down a little bit. And like that NIT game against Michigan, for example, there was a possession where you switched on to Kobe Buffkin, and you also guarded Hunter Dickinson a lot. So can you speak about like your versatility on the defensive end of the floor and how that's kind of developed over time?
Yeah, I think that just continuing to try to work on my lateral quickness has been a big thing. I wasn't asked to guard guards a lot at Toledo, so that's something I've been trying to put myself in as many situations. Like who's your guards that you got? Asking people like who you got as far as guards? Can I guard them? I'm out here at Impact in Vegas right now, and I've been guarding a lot of guards, and I mean it hasn't been bad. I mean I use my length, just try to like be a reasonable distance away from the ball, and I mean provide a little bit of pressure to it, without obviously getting blown by. So like I think that using my length is going to be a big thing when it comes to guarding guards is the next level.
For sure. Yeah. And then kind of the big thing that sticks out on the defensive end is like you grade out well, just like statistically in terms of like steals and blocks, but like your block rate is really high for somebody who projects to play as a forward. Can you talk a little bit about your shot blocking? And is that just a matter of reading plays or knowing rotations? Like why do you think you block so many shots?
I think my mom blessed me with long arms. That's a big part of it. Yeah, I think that, obviously having length is important to block shots, but I've gotten better at timing, which is also a big part. I think also guarding centers at Toledo, a lot of times they couldn't shoot, so I was able to help. I was able to help a lot, knowing that, I didn't really care where they were a lot of the time, unless they were in the dunker spot, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So kind of projecting forward and looking forward, what do you see your role being on an NBA team? If everything goes well, you hear your name called on draft night, like what do you see your role being in the NBA?
I'd be a 3 or a stretch 4, and I would space the floor. I mean, as simple as that. As far as offense goes, I mean, I would just see myself being somebody who can be a role player and can, provide space for guys who are getting to the basket or.
Nope, I think we might have lost you there. Oh, sorry. Hey, sorry, we lost you for a second there. So yeah, so you're saying 3 or stretch 4?
Yeah, I mean, just being someone who spaces the floor. Not gonna be someone, obviously with a whole bunch of bink stuff off the dribble, but I want to be someone who's, prepared to make a read off of a closeout, knock down open shots, play as hard as I can on defense, and be like a glue guy. Like just, I mean, I've always been that for teams. I'm not a guy who's gonna mess up your chemistry. So I want to be someone who is going to play as hard as he can every game and knock down shots.
That's great. Love that answer. What have you been focused on most during your pre-draft process? Like, I know you talked about covering guards and things like that. Are there other elements of your game you're saying like, I really want to improve here? Or, when you're at an event like Portsmouth, like you're excited to show off a new skill. Like what's kind of been the focus of your development?
I'd say just like getting to my pull up more often. I didn't get to that very much in Toledo, as far as offense goes. But yeah, guarding guards is going to be a big thing. Getting stronger. I've been trying to get stronger. That's another big point. I need my body to look more like an NBA body. You know what I mean? So that's taking top priority too.
Awesome. Well, that does it for me. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and giving everybody a chance to get to know you. For people who are interested in kind of following your journey and following you going forward, where can people find you on social media?
I'm JShoe32 on Instagram. JShoe with 3 U's on Twitter. The JShoe was already taken, so yeah. Yeah.
That's good for NBA teams to hear. You're resourceful. You find a way to make it work, even when it's not the easiest thing. So that's great, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. JT's a really good player, very fun to watch. We're looking forward to seeing what you do at Portsmouth and going forward from there. We're excited to see how your career plays out.
Awesome. Thanks, Max.
No problem. Thanks for joining us.